All right. Welcome in to On the Clock, NFL Draft Show, episode number 11. This is part of the Toilets to Titles podcast network. We are part of Real Ones Productions, and I am here this evening with my guy and a guest. First, I'm going to introduce the man next to me. That's Nino Brown. That's the mayor of college football at Nino Brown _T2T on the Twitter. Nino, what's cooking?
What's good, Coach? I'm glad we could get this episode in. We got a special guest at the bottom. I know he's a big Rams fan, but he's gonna surprise us with a lot of these sleeper backs tonight. So I'm excited.
Oh man, I feel bad. That you kind of tossed it up to me. I don't want to slam it home as violently because it's our guest here. But I was just gonna say the Rams are probably gonna need to hit on quite a few sleepers this year in order for things to be all right. And that's not me trying to. I mean, the Rams Super Bowl champs. I saw on Twitter today someone was like, I think it was George actually. He was like,
yeah, it was
George Reed. Was it worth it? Like for the position the Rams
in
are in now.
response to me.
I was in school today, and my school's like 2 hours away. So I'm down in school, 8-hour day, running back. So and Nino's me and have been going back and forth all day through DM. So everything I catch on Twitter, I catch briefly. So I didn't read the whole story, but I was like, hell yeah, it was worth it. I was gonna say I'd give a toe. I'd give a toe to win a Super Bowl. But now that the Cowboys are making some of these moves, I don't know if I'd be able to put my money where my mouth is. But enough. I got everyone's wondering, who is this guest that they're talking about? And that's Jake. Is it Ellnbogen? Ellnbogen? Did I say that correctly?
It is Ellenbogen.
Ellnbogen. Oh, so much more regal.
Yeah, Ellenbogen. I'm glad it's Ellenbogen. I'll be honest. I've been called Ellen Toboggan, Ellenbigen, Ellenbitchin. I mean, everything. Man, I don't know where you're getting the TCH, but you know,
that's what 11 would say. So bitching, but Ellen, I can't even repeat it. It was just so regal. I'll butcher it, but it's at JK Bogan on the Twitter, and Rams fan. All right, NFL draft specialist. He knows his running backs, but he's also Kansas fan, Rams fan. You're a Jets fan? So, no, not a Jets fan. What's the helmet back there that I didn't see? I see the Rams.
That is the Jets helmet. I did start covering them last year. Some would say that's really good timing because they're about to get Aaron Rodgers. But I mean, I like them. I wouldn't say I'm a fan. I think fan implies that I'd be rocking jerseys and such. I wouldn't say that, but I do like them. And if I had to pick a second team gun to my head, it'd probably be the Jets just based on my work.
Okay. So, hopefully you're never put in a situation where you have to pick, like gun to your head. You have to pick a team. But I see behind you, Spider-Man, Michael Myers. So if you're not watching at home, if you're listening, because we do have this on audio platforms, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, all that stuff, Anchor. You can't see this, but behind Jake, he's got a very nice studio. I like the way it's lit. I like but you have Michael Myers right next to Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man's spider senses are tingling. They should be if they aren't. Give us the background story behind this.
Yeah, so I've been a Spider-Man fan since I can remember, and I feel like that never went away, as childish as that may sound for some people. I love it, and those movies are like a part of me. All of them.
Which one's your favorite?
I gotta say, I think Far From Home is the greatest Spider-Man, No Way Home is the greatest Spider-Man movie of all of them. But I think I could take a little bit of each one. I know people would say 3 is ridiculous because all anybody does is Bully Maguire and all that. But
three is my favorite.
I like 3. I just think what people don't know is Sam Raimi was told by Sony Studios, you need to get Venom in there. You need to get Sandman in there. You got to throw New Goblin. And there was just too many villains. Very, hard to kind of.
It was perfect.
Focus.
Eddie Brock, the dude from from that
10 pounds of 5-pound bucket.
I liked it.
They just had to throw everything in there, and then they told him, "Yeah, you got to keep it to about this length." And he's like, well, okay, I'll do what I can with that. So that's why Venom got like a cup of coffee in there and then got blown up. The rest of it, they totally butchered that. But it was nice seeing Topher Grace in there. I actually, fun fact, ran into him in Studio City with my co-host Alexis Kraft. So
if you run into him again, you could tell him Coach Shep's on the Twitter stood up for him when you
I will.
against
I think I'll say this. I think he did a good job. I think they did him no justice because he was barely in the movie. Right? Like, he's barely in the movie. So that was my biggest issue. But yeah, I love all the Spider-Man movies, including the animated ones. First off, the animated 90s kid show or whatever, greatest animated show maybe ever besides, I'd say, Dragon Ball Z.
Ooh, you like Dragon Ball Z as well?
Big fan.
Favorite
Like,
character? Woo.
That's tough because I actually... Low key, I like the Great Saiyan Man a lot.
Oh man,
but
love the Great Saiyan Man.
I mean, I'd probably have to go Goku, but I love Vegeta. I love Pycon. He did not get a fair shake. You know, I think Android 17, his push that he got in Dragon Ball Super.
I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet.
All right.
Close. I'm close.
You'll like him. You'll like him.
I just liked how 16 was like 16 had no like. You thought he was going to be the biggest, baddest dude, and then he's hanging out with a butterfly. He's saving the world. But we're getting way off topic. I'll let you finish. You were saying Spider-Man is the best. Sorry, Nino, we're off the rails this evening. I apologize.
Yeah, Spider-Man's the best. I love the MCU. It's just it's a part of me. I actually do MCU content. I had a couple of MCU podcasts that I kind of had to push to the side because I've been focusing more on sports lately, but it's kind of representative of what I do on my live streams, how this is pretty much what I do on my live streams. Something that's about this can turn into this. With Michael Myers, I used to do a horror podcast with Jarrett Bailey, and that, Jarrett's the man. And we only did 3 episodes, so it wasn't like it didn't take off or anything, but we just got, we're both big fans of horror, and so we decided to do that. And I love Michael Myers probably more than like a normal non-serial killer person should, but but that mask is, in my opinion, the best one on camera. I think the original Halloween mask was sold out, so I couldn't get that. So I got the Halloween one from 2018. I think it just is the best mask on camera, in my opinion. So love it. And I don't want to, ruin the whole podcast, but yeah, that's why.
No, this is great.
Phenomenal. I love it.
Have you ever been to Halloween Horror Nights?
I have once or twice.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very interesting. So if you're doing this in the future, you need to bring me on. We'll talk Dragon Ball Z. We'll talk Marvel.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm surrounded by I got, have you watched My Hero Academia?
I'm not really an anime fan, believe it or not.
We'll
I love Dragon Ball.
All right. We'll save that. So the voice of Vegeta is actually the voice of a major character in that, but we'll get to that when we're on your podcast. So I'm already inviting myself there, but you know what? We got to talk running backs, man. We're here for 2023 NFL draft running backs, and we want to talk some sleepers. So I know Nino reached out to you. So Nino, I'm going to let you take over here. You could pass it to Jake when you're ready to go, but we're talking sleeper running backs in the 2023 NFL draft class.
All right. Well, I'll lead off with one running back that I like, that I also know that Jake likes, and that would be Fresno State running back Jordan Mims, 6 foot, 196 pounds. He's got a 31 3/8 wingspan, right? He had 261 attempts for 1,300 yards, 18 touchdowns. I like this number right here. It's 5.3 yards per carry, right? He ran a 4.5 40, right? He closes out runs. It may not have elite level speed, but he's not really getting tracked down from behind. He finishes really hard, and he's got good hands. Back-to-back seasons with 20 receptions. Jake, what do you think about?
I think he's asking you what your thoughts are on Jordan Mims out of Fresno State.
I like Jordan Mims a lot. I think when you look like mid to late rounds, I think in this draft, I think he's going to make a team very happy. He's not somebody that I see becoming a starter at any point, but he's going to have a role. And, depending on how big that role is, will decide his overall fantasy value, will decide his value in general. But when you have a guy that can catch passes, I think that's a big thing. Because when you're going in the NFL draft, if you're trying to get a team to draft you, you have to sell them on you. And by being able to do different things, like, for instance, if you could play on special teams, that increases your overall value for an NFL team. And, I think when I look at running backs, it's like, okay, maybe they're not the best running in between the tackles, but, when they get to the outside, they're gone. That's considered a plus because their home run hitting ability. But then in addition to that, if I see a guy that's great in pass pro, look at Kyron Williams last year. Everyone was talking about how poorly he tested, right? How poorly he timed, just bad all around. But the Rams loved his pass protection. And that is what got them to trade up in the 5th round and select him. There have been guys like that in the past. You look at Isaiah Pacheco last year, 7th round pick. There are guys, Chris Carson, a 7th round pick that had success in the NFL. So I think just looking at a guy like Mims, he doesn't have to ever start. I'm not saying he couldn't. But I definitely think that makes a lot of sense to mention him as a potential sleeper, because I think he'll help you out in the passing game, at least early on in his career. And then as he continues to develop as a running back, maybe he turns into an all-around running back and maybe is a starter down the line. But I have him in a mid to late round thing. So I think that's probably the best course of action for a team that's trying to find, one of those sleepers in day 3, I would say, maybe early to mid day 3.
I like it. It's fitting that you brought up, Nino brought up Jordan Mims, and then you tied in Kyron Williams, because that was one of Nino's guys last year. I believe there's a Dynasty Diamonds on the YouTube that you can go check out. So it's like those are the 2 degrees of Nino, taking it from one sleeper now to the sleeper last year who panned out. So that works out. So why don't you bring a running back to the table that you think is a sleeper that you think is going to hit? Somebody you think that's going to come in, go a litlittle later, but they're going to crush it.
So I'm going to go with Bijan. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. All right. Click.
No, I'm going to go with Xavier Valladay. I don't know what is going on. I don't know if there's something in the water at Arizona State or what's going on there, but I see a potential starter with Valladay, a guy who, in my mind, he's explosive. He can help you as a pass catcher out of the backfield. I was honestly decently impressed with him in pass pro, and he's not somebody that I'm just out on. I think this is somebody that could be very similar to Rachaad White, where, he was drafted a little bit higher than maybe, you and I might have expected. But he was drafted where he should have been drafted. And I think teams are sleeping on these Arizona State guys. I don't know if it's just me. I think Caleb Balazs can still play in this league. I don't know. I don't think he's getting enough of a chance. But when you look at Valladay, I think the biggest question with him is ball security. He's got to be able to hang on the football. He can't fumble it. But this is somebody that broke a considerable amount of tackles on tape. I was a little surprised by his contact balance overall. But he's got that home run hitting ability and, again, pass protection. I just think he's a guy that he's got an awesome name, right? But I think
he spells it well too.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Perfect spelling. That's very, very interesting.
Yeah, you could tell the announcers want nothing to do with it. They're like, yeah, it's X Valladay. Like, they're not even going to try. He gets it to X. Like, yeah, okay, we see what you're doing. But no, I think, his lateral agility's fantastic for the position. And one thing I like is his overall leg drive. Just seeing a guy who, may not be the tallest running back in the world. He may not be the thickest running back. But, again, looks can be a little bit deceiving on the football field. And he's able to carry a pile here and there. So I like Valladay a lot. I think he's flying under the radar. I have no idea where he's going to go. He grayed out as a starter someday for me, round 3. So I think the guy is very good. People aren't talking about him by the names in the order of in the order of names I go in. It doesn't mean necessarily this is where the guy's ranked higher. I just chose to bring up Valladay at this time, but there might be other guys I have ranked ahead of him, for full disclosure. But Valladay is a name to keep in mind, because I may think he's being underrated, but the NFL scouts might be laughing in the bank.
All right, that's what's interesting, and I think I said this earlier to Nino when we were chatting. A lot of the things that, we kind of that are debatable right now, it's one thing to know what scouts think, like outside of NFL circles, but the NFL GMs and the NFL scouts could be completely different. Like with the first round of the NFL draft, this is a year where I think it's just going to be so different than what we're used to. And a lot of the norms, I think, are going to be broken. And that's the great part, man. Like we're all like, we have our own analysis. At least I know that the 3 gentlemen here do. A lot of us in the community have our own analysis. and also we have the people that we go to try to, find the breadcrumbs and whatnot. And we could be led in a direction that the NFL could be going in a completely different direction. So it'll be very funny to watch this year. What are your thoughts on Lou Nichols? Lou Nichols is a guy who I watched last year going into this season, and I looked at the numbers. I thought I was going to like him. I didn't like him as much as I thought I was going to, and he just had his pro day, and some people like the way he's built. I'm not sold, but I wanted to know what you thought about Lou Nichols.
So I didn't watch a ton of him, but I believe, and you might have to, get my memory on track again. This is the guy that I believe was Florida State, was like a big time prospect, right?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Michigan.
Yeah, I know he's
Yeah,
at
he went to
Central Michigan.
and then he literally carried everybody's college fantasy football teams down the stretch last year. He was like 1,600 yards and off.
Okay, maybe it wasn't Lou Nichols that I'm thinking of.
He's 300 attempts back to back years, so that will a lot of wear and tear.
Yeah, I tried to calm myself down watching too much tape on running backs because last year I watched 40 and there were some other positions I didn't watch enough of, and some of these guys we're not even talking were like camp invites, so I didn't want to get into that this year. So yeah, to be entirely honest with you, I don't think I watched much Lou Nichols. So if it's not the Florida State guy, then I don't think I watched too much of him,
well,
unfortunately.
full disclosure, if you're listening at home and if you're not aware, Lou Nichols last year 1,800 yards in the ground, like monster, 16 touchdowns. This year he came back down to earth, but he also had half the touches, 177 touches, 601 yards, 6 touchdowns, had 40 receptions last year, only 21 this year. And it was at Central Michigan, downhill runner, and he's going to be somebody you're going to see pop up in a lot of sleeper circles because people are just going to look at the numbers. Don't just look at the numbers, look at the tape. I'm not completely sold on him. And I know this is a sleeper show, but right now I think we're trying to help you navigate through the sleepers. But Nino, I speak for myself. Are you on board with Lou Nichols or what?
No, I'm not on board with Lou Nichols. I think, people see the 300 attempts in 2 seasons, and then you see the fall off to 177, and with no immediate threat in the backfield to take away the carries. So I that's a red flag for me. Why such a drop off in carries? I understand you don't want to kill the guy, but that's half. So that's a red flag. Production wasn't there, and there's a lot of times Lou Nichols could, going out to the edge, he could cut it back in and hit a hole, and he doesn't even look at the hole. He's more of a, he's got tunnel vision. He just looked at one. Isn't no like cutting and going back. He just hits a hole and goes. So there's a few red flags. I mean, last year he was just beasting it. You know what I mean? A lot of the runs he took were just, yak. He hit it, yards after contact he does well with, but I'm not sold on Nichols.
Right. Well, I'm gonna talk to you about a guy you are sold about. Tell me about Keaton Mitchell at ECU. This is your guy. All right. So let me hear about him.
So, I'm not going to run down stats. I'm just going to say this one thing. You can teach a lot of things, but you can't teach speed, right? In 4.3 speed in the NFL, and a guy that can catch the ball and take the top off, off defenses, there's a place for him. And there will be a place for Keaton Mitchell in the NFL. Receiving backs, this is the way of the future in the NFL. We see it all the time. You're not going to be getting – there's a couple unicorns, Jonathan Taylor, maybe a few others that get you 250 carries or whatever it may be. That's not the way it works. One guy runs, one guy catches. This gentleman can be an enormous receiving back in the NFL, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on him.
And you saw his numbers go up from 174 carries last year to 201.
Yes.
22 receptions last year to 27. 9 touchdowns on the ground to 14. Like that's dude only went up 27 touches. He had 5 more touchdowns. All right. He had 300 more yards on the ground, averaged 7.2 yards per carry. He's only 5'7". Okay. But like you said, he's lightning quick. And we've seen lightning quick running backs come out of ECU. I'm not saying he's Chris Johnson, but I'm just saying, put this guy on your radar, and it'll be interesting to see what the NFL thinks about him.
All right. So before we go back to Jake, we're gonna hit him with a 2-piece, right? You said Mitchell, we talking small guys, so I'm gonna hit him with my guy. That's Deuce Vaughn, 5'5", 179, right? 5'5", 179, but he got a 35.5 vertical. Okay. In 3 years at Kansas State, my man ellipsed 4,800 total yards. Okay. Back-to-back seasons of 1,400 yards. Back-to-back seasons of 40-plus receptions. Despite the size of being a little bowling ball, my man can run inside and out. There's another gentleman come out of Texas A&M that doesn't do too much inside running, a lot of outside running, and he's a little bit bigger, but they played a similar role, right? Deuce got top-notch receiving running back ability. He's got great feet. He actually has wide receiver route tree ability. He's explosive. He's got that one cut and go. And for a guy at 5'5", he's not afraid of contact. Jake, what are your thoughts on both these guys?
You set me up perfectly because I was literally going to bring him up. And if you asked me about Keaton Mitchell, I was going to bring up Deuce Vaughn. So the big thing here right now is they're both RB7 and RB8 for me, right? Keaton Mitchell's RB7, Deuce Vaughn's RB8. I would cry actual tears in a good way if the Rams got any of them. But here's the thing, okay? The big knock, and maybe this is because I'm biased. I'm 5'8" and I like the small guy, but first off, Tariq Cohen already showed you that size doesn't matter. He made it in the league. You can't take anything away from him. He was drafted, I believe, in the 3rd round by the Bears. They didn't have many picks. They chose to draft him. And, you know, he was pretty darn good. He's had issues with the injuries, but I mean, that's, freak stuff. We're talking about taking video of him working out and then he gets hurt. Feels so bad for him. But again, he had a legit role in this league. So he's shown this is not unheard of. Darren Sproles has shown that, right? But the big thing that people put size, and it's so bizarre to me how you associate size with fumbling the football. Well, these guys simply don't do it. For all the knock that we get for these guys being 5'7", 5'5", oh, Keaton Mitchell's only $179. Oh, Deuce Vaughn's only $176. Those guys don't fumble. They're at the top of the list, lowest fumble rate in the entire country in college football. So that needs to be talked about. I don't see us talking about that enough. We have to have a legit dialogue. Then you talk about speed that you can't coach. And it's not just, speed where, all right, this guy's a track star. Let's see what we can do with him. It's not that. It's not Donnell Pumphrey. No offense to him. These guys can actually work out in the NFL. When I look at Keaton Mitchell, I see a guy who can turn any run into a house call, right? Yes. I mean, literally any run at any point in the game. I don't care if he's running in between the tackles, outside, has to break a tackle. I've seen him do it all. He is absolutely electric at East Carolina. And then you look at Deuce Vaughn. You see my Kansas thing in the background. I'm also a Kansas football fan. People fall on the floor when they hear that. But hey, I watched Deuce Vaughn go up against the Jayhawks. Deuce Vaughn, doesn't matter who he goes up against.
Did you see Samaje Perine go up against the Jayhawks?
Oh, yeah. Over 300-something yards. I'll never forget watching that whole game.
Oh, my God. That film, sorry, I just took you off the rails again. But that was probably that was one of the single best running back performances. I thought Samaje Perine was a Heisman Trophy winner after that game.
He solidified himself in the NFL after that. I mean, they were he got his second contract. He's with the Broncos. Yeah, he's good. That game, I mean, he should be sending royalties to Kansas at this point.
Go on. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I think Nino brought it up best. These are two receiving backs, and we were just talking about it with Mims. I mean, if I can't provide this value, where else can I provide value in? And I would make the argument that Deuce Vaughn and Keaton Mitchell are cut from the same cloth as Tony Pollard, and God forbid if they can't be number ones, they're going to be RB2s that are household names. They're going to be RB2s.
Look at Boston Scott.
Yeah. I think they're going to be a lot bigger than Boston Scott, but not a knock on him.
Scott's a little guy. I think the Eagles misuse him. I think he was the best running back they had last year.
I would argue Gainwell. I'm a Gainwell fan. I can't, go against that.
Scott deserved more touches.
Thank you.
I think maybe they could have split the two between Scott and Gainwell, when Scott.
They should have used them more. I would say for sure. To your guys' point though, I mean, I think Keaton and Deuce. I mean, those guys, and I see a lot of 5th round. I don't think so. Okay, I don't, because again, maybe Keaton Mitchell falls through the cracks playing at East Carolina. That's not really fair, but maybe that's just the way it is. Since COVID, I would say it seems like there's more of a premium on the Power 5 guys, the big boy schools, the big boy prospects, and not as much as the small school I think we were building to before COVID, which is a shame, something that I've noticed. But when you look at Deuce Vaughn, you play in the Big 12, right? You play against Alabama in that bowl game. I mean, he's got eyes on him. He's had eyes on him. I tweeted out the Deuce Vaughn video I did, the 1 minute short on Twitter, and Breece Hall tweeted it out. Like, he's got big time fans in the clubhouse, so to speak, in the NFL as it stands right now. This guy's turning heads. So I don't know, man. I think Deuce Vaughn might go in the second round, and I would not be shocked if it's early second round, because I could see somebody like kind of like a Dree Archer, but like actually like succeeding. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I could see, but like, hear me out. Like, I could see a team using him, like looking at him as just a weapon. Like, all right, we'll play him at slot. We'll play him, split back formation. We'll bring that back because we have the running back to do so. I mean, if you can't make him work, you shouldn't be an offensive coordinator in the NFL, point blank. And same thing with Keaton. So that I have great thoughts about both of them. They probably would have been on my list. Definitely would have been on my list if you guys didn't mention them, but I love that you did.
Well, I'm sorry. I was just going to say it's a different game than it used to be. Yeah. Last night I was on head to head, or 2 nights ago, because you're listening on Thursday. Jared, Nino, myself, I come in and I'm giving linebackers, sleeper linebackers who I think you're going to be able to get late. I'm talking about guys who are 6 foot, 220 pounds, and I'm talking about them starting 6 foot, 220 pounds, and I'm saying they're worthy to put on your IDP roster because they're going to get you tackles, because they're going to stay on the field, because teams are running nickel at a ridiculous rate. Yeah. So if a 6 foot, 220 pound linebacker can succeed, size is out the window. It's speed, it's power.
You can't teach speed. You can't teach it. Either you got it or you don't. Yeah. And Jake mentioned Deuce against Alabama. Deuce Vaughn put Alabama on notice. Everybody on that team, he put him on notice. So,
yeah. I mean, Alabama was the standard, right? For okay. I think they could beat the worst team in the NFL. Not me, but like that was the standard. That was the question, right?
Yeah. Against the Houston Texans, right?
Yeah. So you're telling me that is, if that's still the standard, Deuce Vaughn destroyed them. Boom. So you're telling me that Deuce Vaughn can play in this league?
He's better than Dameon Pierce then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
That was a dig to my.
It was to me. That was to me. I still don't trust him.
Jake, who are some running backs that we haven't mentioned that are some sleeper guys listeners need to know about?
Oh man, I'll say Thin Izzy, although he's not thin, and that was totally a Thin Lizzy reference. Israel Abanikanda, man. If you guys haven't watched him at a pit, he is splendid. He is just so fun to watch. I think he's a total package. I think
you got him.
I have him 4th.
I got him at 5. All right, so you're higher on him than me. So, all right. Fair.
Yeah, but I mean, 4th, 5th, like we have him about the same and whatnot. He's got home run hitting ability. He's built to withstand the NFL punishment. I mean, let's just be honest here. He's not a polished route runner, but he's got really soft hands. My big concern with him, he fumbled 3 times this year, right? So it goes back to, it doesn't matter how tall you are if you're fumbling, But, he's a willing pass protector. I think he has an all-around game, but I just keep seeing, as far as, the word that's associated with him, it's always raw. It's always unpolished. And I don't necessarily agree. Like, I've gone in and I've been like, you know what? Like, I don't think he's as raw as everyone's saying. And this is not the first time I've said that, because I watched, Anthony Richardson, and everyone was saying how raw he was. And I watched him. I'm like, man, I don't know. The way he's layering throws over these linebackers, over the middle, hitting these seam busters, that's not raw to me.
Consistently?
Consistently. He was doing that. So, yeah.
What game was this, please? Because I need you to send me the tape, because I watched about 9 games and I saw about 2.5 quarters where he was consistently lacing it up.
Well, here's the thing, though. What I'll say is this: not to get into the whole Anthony Richardson thing.
No, every episode goes here.
It happens. It's the way it works.
Really? Okay. All right. So the thing with him is that, like, I feel like not just him, but just in general, is that, like, every year there are prospects that they're really good on tape and they show us some moments where we're like, whoa, okay. And then, like, I think we try to nitpick a little bit to try to be like, all right, maybe are we too high on this guy? And I feel like Anthony Richardson, not everybody is, but I've noticed some people are trying to kind of lower the expectations, lower the overall grade and what they see on him because they're like, I don't want to be too high on this guy, right? And the last time that I got bit on that, I was wrong. That was Josh Allen. The first time that I didn't get bit on that when other people did was Patrick Mahomes because I was watching him and I'm like, oh, he plays in this air raid offense. And I'm like, I don't care. The guy doesn't throw interceptions. He throws tons of touchdowns. And when I'm watching him, he's got a cannon. His mobility is insane. Just his,
he was different.
He was
Patrick
different.
Mahomes was
He's
like,
that game, Patrick Mahomes against Baker Mayfield, that game.
Oh my God. That was one of the greatest college football games of all time. Period.
It was like 125 points.
Yeah,
it's funny because the Texas Tech, like that was the second game they were in like that decade. That was one of those that when Vince Young versus Michael Crabtree, when we had that's when Crabtree had that catch at the end of the game, like tiptoed down the sideline for a touchdown, like
waving the ball.
Tech, just Texas Tech. What are they doing? They're just playing in big games, I guess. Apparently,
another big thing, by the way, a reason why people missed on Patrick Mahomes: don't scout the helmet. Stop it. Don't do it.
Oh, yeah.
These are individual players. Just because he's wearing an Auburn helmet and he plays tackle doesn't mean he's Greg Robinson, right? That could also apply. Just because he's a quarterback does not mean wearing an Auburn helmet make him Cam Newton either. Like, it can go both ways, right? And I feel like not you guys, and definitely not me, and not most of the community, but I do know that there are people out there like, man, I don't know about these USC receivers. Yeah, until they start pumping out like crazy now, right? I mean, USC receivers haven't busted in a while.
Now it's the USC quarterbacs. We'll wait till that breaks.
I was going to say, if you would have said USC QB or USC linebacker, then we would have had a different talk.
Caleb is probably going to shred that next year, but yes.
Yeah,
I was a Ray Maualuga stan. when Ray Maualuga came out of USC, a linebacker, I thought that dude was going to be Ray Lewis,
it's
2.0.
Pac-12 is hard to hit on defense. I'm sorry. It's hard. I mean, Noah Sewell will probably hit because he's next level, but it's just hard for defensive wise. Cornerbacks, yes, because receivers are all over the field and they're just up and down the field all the time. But like when it comes to DNs and linebackers, I don't know. It's the percentage is low.
Yeah, I'm watching linebackers right now and I'm not enjoying it.
I got a question. Yeah. I got a question for Jake because I'm hearing the names, but I haven't heard this name. And I heard you said you had him a couple, ranking at 5 or 6 or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And this guy seems to be falling because quote unquote his attitude. He transferred from one school to the other school, and they said both times was attitude reasons, and he got passed up by a freshman this year who just happens to just be next level. I'm talking about Zach Evans out of Ole Miss, right? 5'11", 202 pounds. He's got enormous mitts, 10-inch and a quarter hands, right? You want to talk about not fumbling the ball, right? He runs a 4.42 40. Behind Judkins, who ran for 1,000 yards, my man ran for 866 yards, 6.6 yards per carry, and 8 touchdowns. He's an elite inside runner, and he can hit the second level quickly, right? He plays good in the eye on the shotgun. He's got good hands of vision, and he got good balance. He's not taking him down on the first tackle. I'm not understanding why a lot of people are just letting this guy fall. And he's top 3 in my eyes in this class. And I hear a lot of people talking about him 4, 5. Jake, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so Zach Evans was one of the first running backs I watched, and I was like, I think I'm going to love this guy. And then I didn't love him as much as I thought. I still have a second-round grade on him, but I think this running back class is insane, so I have a lot of second-round grades on running backs. He's fairly agile for the position. Like you said, he gets to the second level. He can, lay some punishment there, too. Like, he finishes his runs well. I think he's good in between the tackles, outside the tackles. I think the big thing when you look at him is he's not the greatest pass protector. And while he was, great as far as taking care of the football until this year, he fumbled 3 times. So I think that's something that kind of became, what's going on here. This is a little bit of a concern here. Losing a starting job, we've seen this go different ways, right? We've seen, Josh Jacobs, who wasn't even the de facto starter at Alabama, and he goes in the first round. But we've also seen it kind of hold other guys back, and I think this is kind of a case of that. I also think he's just kind of lost in the shuffle of just there's so many great backs this year. So I don't think it's anything necessarily that he did or didn't do. I think it's a matter of just, wow, this class is really good and it's going to be hard and you're going to have to. I mean, this is a class where you have your pick of the litter. I don't think he offers a ton in the receiving game, and I don't think he offers.
Problem. That's why people are low on him, because people are living in a fantasy bubble. Zach Evans, NFL, I want him on my team.
Yeah.
I like the way the guy runs. This dude, he's 5'11", 202 pounds, and he is physical. Like, put him on my roster, hand him the rock. Simple. Like, he's an NFL player. He might not be your ideal fantasy guy, but that's
you lock him in LA. If LA drafts him, would you be okay with that?
No, because I do not want them to take a running back super high. They got all sorts of needs. But
how many running backs you got going in the first 2 rounds? You got Deuce going early second. Where's Evans going?
This is in my opinion, right? Okay. I have about, I'd say, 11 running backs that could go in the first 2 rounds, I'd say. Robinson, Gibbs, Spears, Abanikanda, A-Chain, Charbonnet, Mitchell, Vaughn, Johnson, Miller, and Evans. Yeah. Kenny McIntosh, Valladay, Bigsby, and Ibrahim and Gray, I believe, are in the 3rd and 4th round. So, yeah.
Man, I'm going to watch this dude that you mentioned. I'm not going to say his name because I can't pronounce it correctly. From Arizona State. Where can everybody find your rankings? I love these numbers.
David Valladay?
Yes.
Yeah, so I haven't put out, I don't think I've put out the rankings yet, but I have like videos and stuff on, I do like a 1 minute video where I throw some highlights in there just for like, my whole point is I wanted to simplify it. Everybody is so into the age of short form content, right? And I make a lot of long form content. So I'm trying to reach people that are trying to get into the draft. And I feel like this is the best way to do it. And so I made a video. I made like 24 running back videos. Poor Travis Dye. He just missed out. I don't have time to do a bunch of videos, but I made 24 running back. I made 14 quarterback. I'm doing edge right now. I'm kind of all over the place. But yeah, just, taking some highlights and then just adding value over it, talking over it, basically reading off my notes, right? Just
where is it though? Where is this on YouTube?
So yeah, it's on YouTube Shorts. It's on TikTok, all JK Bogan, where you can find me. But TikTok, Instagram Reels. It's on Twitter. I have a thread. It is, I believe, my pinned thread on my Twitter, and it's just a thread of all of them. So they're all there.
A1 work.
Man, this is excellent, and you're quick, man. I've loved every second of chatting with you. I feel like we could have spent probably 40 minutes talking about Marvel and Dragon Ball Z. Go ahead, Nino.
I got one more because I'm surprised you didn't bring it up because we were talking sleepers and I watched all the videos, so I was ready for him. Jake, I'm going to need you to explain to the viewers at home the gentleman out of Utah that you're big on.
Oh, yes. Tavion Thomas.
Yes.
See, it's weird because he didn't test very well. And I understand people are going to be, complaining about that. They're the same people that were way higher on LeGarrette Blount than I was personally. And I mean, that dude looked like he was running in cement shoes. Let's just be honest here. So, I'll say this. If you're looking for a pure power back, Tavion Thomas is a guarantee. At 3rd and 1, if you need that extra yard, Tavion Thomas, boom. If you need a touchdown, Tavion Thomas, he had like 20, I think he set the Utah record. He is not getting enough credit. And, it's always about the lack of speed. And I think it goes to what Coach was just saying, how, okay, well, he doesn't offer enough in the receiving game. Yes, when I'm grading a running back, okay, I'm grading all of this stuff. I'll share it right now. Let's bring it up. So I grade agility,
love it,
ball security, burst, first 5 yards, for those that don't know what that is, hands, pass protection, power, route running, long speed, ball carrier vision, awareness. I take a 0.1 to 10, okay, on those grades, and that makes up my overall grade out of 100. That's how I do it. I've changed how I've done it, and this is how I think I'm just going to stick to. So the point being is that just because a guy grades out, negatively, let's just say in route running. And I have guys like that. Like I had Zach Evans, his route running is 6.5 out of 10. That doesn't destroy his overall grade. You know what I mean? He's still a second round talent in my opinion. And based on my grading chart. So that, I think that's my thing is like, to your point, Tavion Thomas doesn't check these boxes. He doesn't check the receiving box. He doesn't check the long speed box. He's not going to run a 4.4. He didn't. He ran a 4.7, right? But talent is talent, and you can find roles. These guys aren't all trying to become, obviously they'd love to start, but these guys aren't all going to be starters in the NFL. And you got to find these role players. And Tavion Thomas is a guy, if you need a goal line back or a short yardage back that offers some pop behind his pads and can move a pile and has great leg drive, that's a guy I want on my football team.
What do you think about Chris Rodriguez?
Same thing. But I would say Chris Rodriguez, and this is going to sound unfair to put this much pressure on him. But, man, there are times where I'm watching him, and I don't think he's ever going to be this, right? But there are times I see Le'Veon Bell. And the reason I say that, and I don't have him graded particularly high at all. He's towards the bottom of my list. But the reason I say that is because it's the way he runs, the patience he runs with. But he's also strong, right? Le'Veon Bell ran a 4.6. He wasn't blazing fast. I think people forget that.
He was a plotter at Michigan State. Like, he dropped some weight after his in his first year in the NFL, he was a plotter too. He dropped some weight after his first year in the NFL, and it completely changed his game. Exactly. You already had the vision. You already had the anticipation. You saw the cutback lanes, but he didn't have the extra burst to get there. And then once that opened up, man, it changed his game completely.
It's just exactly. And I think he's more of a rhythm runner. And anytime they kind of took him out and then they put him back in, he was kind of taken out of his rhythm. So this is a guy that might have a hard time in the NFL because if he doesn't, fix that, and he has to be given the ball consistently. And we look at like perfect example, Cam Akers. He complained about it, almost got traded because of it, with Darrell Henderson there and Kyron Williams and Ronnie Rivers and them trying to make things work with Malcolm Brown. Like Cam Akers just flat out told him, I can't do this. Like, I'm a rhythm guy. I need to stay in my rhythm. You need to give me 20 carries. You need to let me do the workload, or it's not going to work out. And, you could say it's selfish all you want, but I think it's a running back that knows his limitations, and their
lifespan's short. Like, hey,
you
use me right because my time is running out.
Exactly. And by the way, didn't Chris Rodriguez, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't really seen it, but didn't he run like a late 4.5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. He was a mid to high 4.5. He's coming off this year. He came off a suspension, missed the first 4 games. And you say he's a rhythm runner. You're 100% correct because the first 3 games they fed him like 16 to 20 carries, and then after that it fizzled out to like 12 carries because they were constantly behind me because I'm a Kentucky guy, so I watched every game. After the first 3 games he was in, they were constantly behind, so the run game was gone.
Yeah.
And Nino's a Kentucky guy, Colorado guy, Nebraska, Iowa, Oklahoma.
All over the place. Represent.
He gets around. Dude, every one of those fan bases know this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think here's one thing I will say. Here's one thing I'll say to Chris Rodriguez and Tavion Thomas. And, Tavion, I think, got better with it. But his ball security was a concern. He got benched because of it. That's something I didn't mention. And so, like, people will be like, oh, well, like, if he has ball security issues, why would I use him in short yardage? He didn't have any fumbles in short yardage. It's when he wanted to extend the play. It's when, he had one of those big, long runs and was trying every which way to push himself to get that touchdown, and he'd get tripped up from behind, the ball would come out, right? So, he'll get better at that, and he did. He didn't fumble after he got benched and came back. He didn't fumble. But Chris Rodriguez doesn't really fumble, right? He's good at taking care of the football. And like I said, the leg drive, man, this guy just moves the pile. The pile just keeps going, right? But I just think overall, I think Tavion is like, I hate to put him in a box, but he is that, short yardage, goal line back. He's tried and true. You look at his college tape. He's constantly a guy that they relied on to punch it in the end zone, and he did that. And when you look at Chris Rodriguez, he's got a little bit more to him, right? I mentioned the Le'Veon Bell comparison. I wouldn't say he is Le'Veon Bell, but it's just that patience and kind of seeing something before it comes together. And I've noticed that with him where he takes a little bit of like, it's not dancing. Like, I hate when running backs dance in the backfield. That you're actually committing to dancing in the backfield. You're committing to your indecision, which is allowing edge defenders to come in and get you and interior defensive linemen to come through the trenches. However, when you take a little bit of a pause, right? Just take a little bit of pause, scan a little bit. And by pause, it's like a split second. But, you know, it makes a huge difference because now, like, Chris Rodriguez does that. And now he's seeing things that are happening before they're happening. And then he's just hitting the hole. And so that's good vision. That's good patience on his part, right? But guys that are constantly like, you know, we see it all that even I love Steven Jackson to death, but the thing that held back Steven Jackson, and there wasn't much, it was that he danced a lot. Like, I think he would have been even better if he was more patient like Le'Veon Bell. I think he would have been a Hall of Famer, to be honest with you, because there would have been nothing on his game that he didn't have. But Chris Rodriguez, he is very patient, and this is a guy that's going to fall forward, right? And, you know, I just think he is more explosive than he gets credit for. And honestly, like, maybe he didn't grade out super well for me, but he's still a 5th round grade for me. You know, I like him.
Man, I love it. I love it. I'm so grateful we started this show about 10 episodes ago because we get a chance every week to talk to draft nuts like yourself. And it's been absolutely incredible, man. I feel like I could sit on this stream with you for however long and just talk about things you're passionate about, because the passion that you have for this totally comes through. It comes through in the audio. I can see it in your face. It's incredible. Draft is about 35 days away. We're going to be doing a mock draft, NFL draft, mock draft, probably 2 rounds within the next week or two. I'm going to reach out to you. I'd like you to be involved if you don't mind. We probably won't do it on air. We'll probably do it in the background, but we do it. We get a bunch of guys in there. We have a gilded chat. So anybody listening at home, if you want to get in the gilded chat, we also do redraft, dynasty, all sorts of mock drafts go on in the gilded chat. But then I also put together a mock draft NFL style with NFL draft analysts in there. If you want to get in there, DM me at Coach Sheps on the Twitter at Titles, or Nino at Nino Brown _T2T. We'll get you the gilded link. But Jake, I'm going to reach out to you specifically on the side so I can organize getting you. We also do a live stream during the NFL draft. We're filling up time slots. We're having people pop in, pop out for about 5 picks here and there. So if you don't have anything going on the NFL draft night, I know the Rams don't have a pick in the first round, but you can come in at any time if you want. For 5 picks, you can dip. But this is all stuff we can talk about off air. You want to check Jake out on the Twitter. Again, it is at JK Bogen, Bogen. He said he's got his TikTok, he's got Instagram. So all these 1-minute videos all on there. They're all over the place. You want to check these out. He's got a lot of guys. He's got, what do you say? You're working on linebackers right now, edge class, running backs, everything's covered. You also want to check out my guy, Nino, at Nino Brown _T2T. This dude's so great. He's so great. When he's working on his show notes, he's talking about hand size and he puts a hand emoji. That's Nino going the extra step. That's right. Like, come on. No, Nino, you're making all the other guys, the co-hosts that I've had, you're putting them all to shame. Justin never uses hand emojis when he does this, man. So he's going above and beyond. So Nino, I appreciate you. The show is on the Twitter at Toilets of Titles. I am at Coach Sheps, and we will be here again next Thursday, ready to talk to you about some more draft prospects, because we got about 5 weeks left to go, and then we party. So we will catch you all later on. Take care.